Welcome to the edition of the Take 3 Wrestling Podcast here. I'm your host, Earnest Christian, alongside the wrestling savants here on the pod, Mike Bernier and Joe Lopez. Fellas, what's up, man?
I said to delete the countdown, not don't do a countdown, genius.
Well, guess what? I saw it play immediately, and I figured, fuck it, just come in and grab the spotlight, you know?
I am with it. I think you should always come in the spotlight. Wait, what?
Anyway,
I also think that it was very easy to grab the spotlight after tonight.
Well, today's show should be pretty easy because we're going to obviously recap the show TLC pay-per-view that just concluded about a little less than an hour ago. Real quick, there isn't much news really going on in pro wrestling other than the announcement earlier in the week from WWE that they've announced their first two inductions for this year's Hall of Fame. First off, Batista announced to be inducted to Hall of Fame in April. Now, I have to be honest with you, Batista wasn't really... Obviously, I know who he is, but again, he was somebody that made an impact when I wasn't watching. So I know more Batista on the silver screen than I do on WWE, in the WWE universe. Quickly, your thoughts on Batista and him getting in?
He walks through miles inside this pit of danger.
He does. These are facts.
I went for the entrance song appeal, and right. I forgot that Ernest doesn't know what I'm talking about.
No, I know. I do now because someone mentioned it on the podcast about a couple of days ago on another pod I listened to, and I kind of put two and two together.
Yeah, I like him being inducted.
Yeah, me too.
Soon though, he just retired this year actually too. It was, you know.
Yeah, but there's certain guys that you have to like strike while the iron's hot. Like the reality of the situation is, like, if the Undertaker came out tomorrow and said that he retired, you don't necessarily have to put him in the first time. You should, but you don't necessarily have to. Yeah. It was like they waited a little bit with Austin. They waited a little bit with The Rock. They waited a little bit with a couple other guys. But I feel like Batista, it's like you have to strike while it's hot because he probably has a movie coming out around the same time too. So dual promotion.
There's always a reason why. There's always a double edge with that one. Yeah.
But the thing that confuses me is that this is the earliest they've ever announced who they're putting in the Hall of Fame.
Yes.
Which makes you wonder if are ticket sales lagging a little bit, and that's why they did this. Is kind of juice up the sales a little bit.
In all honesty, me and Joe have had this conversation before, and I'll let you into the head of two guys that have been to 9 straight WrestleManias.
Yeah.
I've told Joe very clearly it's going to have to take somebody like The Undertaker going into the Hall of Fame for me to be actually, somewhat interested in the Hall of Fame. This also, I mean, Phil Warrior got inducted and Sting has got inducted, two guys that I was like lifelong fans of, and Savage posthumously, and we didn't go to any of those. So, I mean, it's going to take something crazy for me to go to the Hall of Fame.
Well,
yeah, for me personally, like, I would basically go at this point if Mike said, "Hey, let's go," because the idea of going to the Hall of Fame has never really interested me, because to me it's just you go and watch people give speeches. Like, I don't even watch it on TV, if I'm being perfectly honest. I think it's a really cool thing. And I think that it's like I wish there was a real Hall of Fame because I would go visit that.
I would too.
But I have zero desire to spend like $80 on a ticket to go watch, X-Pac make jokes about farts, or I don't know if he actually does that.
Well, I'm glad. Real quick, I'm glad you mentioned that because besides Batista getting inducted, the NWO, the original NWO, being inducted, of course, that's Hollywood Hogan, Scott Hall, Kevin Nash. And you just said it, X-Pac, a.k.a. Six,
yes.
a.k.a. What's Your Kid.
And for the record, I just want to make clear, because I was just making a joke before. I think X-Pac is an awesome guy. I once was outside of a Chikara show with him, and things were happening with me and him and the people that were involved, and
What do you mean? Wait. It's more of the story. What do you mean things happening?
It was. Let's just say it was like
Peel layer,
and the time on the clock was RVD's favorite time.
Okay.
And but like, he really awesome dude, really great. But yeah, no, like, the Hall of Fame does nothing for me, like, in terms of going to it. So
obviously Batista deserves to be in there. I mean, obviously I know who the guy is. I never really watched him much in his years in the WWE, but obviously he was impactful enough to at least I knew who he was. The NWO, though, for me, this is and you mentioned about like it's gotta be somebody of impact to make you want to go to the ceremony. There are very few people in the history of wrestling that would actually intrigue me to go to see them get inducted. Now I would have seen Hulk Hogan had I been able to see him back in 2006 to go see him get inducted, or somebody else. The NWO is another one of those needle movers for me that I would actually consider going because of that. Because again, my philosophy for years was I go where Hogan goes, and back even '96, I stopped watching WWE for WCW because Hogan left. So I was a Hogan disciple, and when he turned heel, I followed him as a bad guy too. So the NWO obviously changed the face of wrestling too. So this is a big deal, obviously, and it's also Tampa. So Hogan and Tampa is a big connection too.
I have to ask the question that I think is now on everybody's mind. As a diehard Hulk Hogan fan, did you watch the porn? Like, did you?
No.
No. Okay, just
no. I checked out.
I don't know.
Bullshit.
I wasn't sure how far you followed his career, quote unquote.
Well, if all 27 members of the NWO don't go in, then it's not the NWO.
Well, that's the other thing too, Mike. You said that. I'm glad you said that because when I saw the announcement, I'm thinking, well, gee, that means Dennis Rodman is going to be in too.
Bring him in. Bring him, Vincent, Scott Norton. Bring Masahiro Chono over from New Japan. Bring them all over. Can we get fake Sting? If we get fake Sting, I will buy a ticket. I'm in. Sign me up.
Fake Sting, yes. Vincent, not Bruce Beefcake. What was his name? Not Bruce Beefcake. What was his name in WWO?
The Disciple.
Disciple.
He was
thank
the
you.
Disciple when
Horace,
he was in the
Horace
NWO.
Hogan.
By the way,
Horace.
Can
Hogan.
we only have NWO Hollywood members, not NWO Wolfpack? I'm probably one of the few people in the entire wrestling universe that fucking hated when they split up and did the Wolfpack. I hated the Wolfpack. I hated that angle.
Split up though because Hogan had too big of a head; he couldn't fit through a doorway.
Yeah.
And it sold more T-shirts.
Yeah, I get it, but it was that split that made me peek my eye back to WWF again.
Also, before we get off too far off topic, like name dropping Scott Flash Norton and Horace Hogan on this podcast, thank you. Can we talk about why Waltman is the fourth member and not Eric Bischoff?
I know. I was thinking the same thing too. I was thinking the same thing also. Go ahead, Joe.
Quite literally. His name was 6 because he was the 6th member.
Yes,
that's what I'm saying.
Because technically, the fourth member outside Bischoff was the Giant, wasn't it?
Yes.
Just saying.
And I think DiBiase
and then DiBiase
in there at some
DiBiase, it was Giant, 6. DiBiase 6, then Macho.
Yeah. Like he was supposed to be the 4th member, but then there was some like contract stuff or whatever, but he was 6. That's why his name was 6. Like,
would they have named
this wasn't
him
hard. Imagine how different history would be if Sean Waltman was 4.
Here's what's crazy too, though. Like, I don't know if the 1-3 kid is actually a Hall of Fame potential, but he could be in a Hall of Fame 3 times. If he goes as a solo, that's a 3-timer. Him that does that DX and then this. No, Chet. I agree with you. Hogan will be is now a double now because of this. Nash will be double because of this now.
Honestly, the first triple member of the Hall of Fame is actually probably going to be Ric Flair.
Yeah, Horseman.
Actually, he's already there probably.
What did Evolution go in?
Evolution, right?
And then eventually with Evolution, I don't think they're in yet, but yeah, you get the point.
Thank
God this football game is over.
What if you do Hollywood Hogan, Hulk Hogan, and NWO? I don't know.
No.
I'm pushing it a little bit. Anyway, before we get to this segment, I'm gonna call my wife while we're doing the segment because the first segment is gonna be first take. I'm gonna contribute to my first take for the show today is reviewing TLC tonight. The show just finished an hour ago, so my first take today for the show, get that clock ready, Mike, is TLC. Now, while we're discussing this, I'm gonna call my wife though, so we keep going.
Okay, cool. First off, before we start, Angel Garza won the Cruiserweight title on NXT. All three of us got that right on the pick'ems from show number 1.
Bang,
Hell
bang.
Yeah.
Bang, bang.
Bang, bang.
Fellas, your thoughts on the show?
All right, so cool. TLC. Time starting now. I will say this about tonight's show. Kind of lackluster to my mind.
Really?
Yeah. I wasn't like the biggest fan of a lot that happened tonight. There was some good stuff, some bad stuff, and then there was some stuff that looked like people were high in the middle of it.
That sounds like a normal Saturday night in the Joe Lopez life. Okay.
Ooh, ship it. Joe Lopez life. So I loved Aleister Black versus Buddy Murphy. I don't think you were there for that match yet, Joe. I think you were.
No, I only watched the last hour of the show. I saw Lana sort of act badly outside the ring while Bobby Lashley and Rusev had a decent match. I actually thought that was a decent match.
Really,
I saw the women's match at the end.
Match on the show.
I mean, I didn't get to see any of the. It's my lowest too, but I only saw 2 matches.
Ship it.
But
Aleister breaks his nose in the middle of this thing and works
get out.
through it. Yeah, his nose looked like a jigsaw puzzle.
Ooh.
I'll send you a picture of it. It's on Twitter. It's pretty fucking swollen. So he works through basically a broken nose, like in the 4 or 5 minute mark of that match.
Right.
Had a good match in my mind. I thought those guys could really work together. Carol, my wife, thought that it was a very interesting concept of having a guy that looks like Aleister Black take on Aleister Black.
You noticed that too? Yes. I was like, wait, I see some resemblance here.
That
beards.
That match went 13:45.
So
what you're saying is Aleister broke his nose super early in it too.
What we're saying is before I watch the replay, I should go grab a pack of Double Mint gum.
Yes.
Okay. By the way, that match, it was actually not better good as I thought it was going to be, but I love the psychology. It was great.
I really liked that match. I liked that match more than anything else I saw on the show.
Oh, best of the show by far, like I said.
So that match I talked about first, but let's backtrack. Pre-show match: Humberto Carrillo versus Andrade. They fought on Raw. Andrade got busted open in this match too, cut over his eye. He was bleeding pretty good in this one. Mm-hmm. Same kind of finish where Andrade almost runs into Zelina. He doesn't run into her this time. Stops. Humberto hits a reverse Rana off the top rope and then hits a beautiful moonsault. If you haven't seen it, go watch his moonsault. It was pretty impressive.
It's gorgeous.
12:45. Humberto gets the win. Post match, Andrade walks out on Zelina Vega.
Oh,
tensions rising in the Latin household. The main show started with the New Day versus the Revival in the ladder match for the SmackDown Tag Team titles. I really liked this match. I have it in the upper half of my rankings for sure. Great chemistry between the 4 of these guys. They really worked their butts off. Kofi hit his traditional "I'm going to be the spot monkey," hit a springboard onto the ladder that shocked one of the Revival guys. It was actually pretty cool. New Day wins after Big E hits one member of the Revival with what's he called that? The big ending?
Yeah.
Yeah, he hit that off the ladder. Took out, I want to say it was Dawson.
It was Dawson, I think.
And then Kofi was able to retrieve the golden belt hanger majigger thingy that they use now. Whatever happened to just a basic cable? Why has it got to be like super extra?
Wait, that right? Like that was. It looked like something that you hang clothes on.
It's literally a hanger, Joe. Like it's literally a hanger. It looks like. I swear to God, because the color too looks like the hangers in my closet. Little brown
it's like
beiges.
An overpriced cleaner's hanger.
Yes. I swear to God.
So bad.
It's like I have that in my house. What the hell? Vince cutting the cost again?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
We already talked about the second match on the main card. That was the Aleister Black Buddy Murphy match. 13:45 Black over Murphy. The fourth match, I hated it. It is in the bottom half of my rankings. It was the Viking Raiders Open Challenge that was answered by the OC of Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson, with 4 fans randomly eating Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Yeah, stupid.
At ringside.
So stupid. Yes. Yeah. Sponsor.
4, and I'm going to put air quotes around this, fans won the opportunity to sit at a table and get the WWE Wrestlers Experience, and they put them right by the guardrail, like on the mat with Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Yep,
it's the
eating
weirdest
a KFC
thing
spread
in my life that I've ever seen in my life.
He's not joking, Joe. He's not joking. He's not joking.
I mean, this is real life.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I was hoping this challenge would have been answered by somebody different, and the tag team I had in mind would have been the returning Usos. But of course, because of the way that the OC is the only team that's beaten the Viking Experience and all that stuff, so I get it.
Made sense, but whatever.
I definitely just called him a Viking experience.
By the
Viking
way, is it Gallows? Is it Gallows has the face paint? Or is it Anderson?
Yes. Gallows has the face paint.
Could we stop with the powers of pain bullshit now? Let's stop. Just remove it.
I like it.
I can't stand it, dude. It's annoying.
I like it more than I like
it.
Some of the
almost
other
as much
shit
as I like
they
fried
do.
chicken. I like it.
Ooh, that's a lot.
Like fried chicken?
I love fried chicken.
Oh, well, there you go.
Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles.
Not KFC though.
Hell yeah. Fifth match of the night was the Constable, the King, whatever you want to call him nowadays. The best heel in WWE.
He is the
Baron
king,
Corbin.
sir.
Can we stop real quick, Mike? Mike, real quick. Joe,
What?
why do you hate King Corbin so much?
I don't actually.
Who was it that hated King Corbin so much though? Was it you? It wasn't you, was it? Or you turned about face on that one now a little bit?
I don't. Did I? Do I?
I swear. High pitched voice there, buddy. What?
Yeah, no, I don't. Listen, gay. I don't know what to tell you.
No. I go high too. It's okay.
It's the gay accent. It really
It's
is. I don't know what to tell you. Like,
What?
yeah, no, it's a
So
thing.
when you do the Stone Cold what? You go what? What?
Yes,
What?
yes, exactly. When Daniel Bryan comes out, I'm in my room. I'm like, yes, not Anyway,
He is the best heel in the company. I swear. Maybe one of these weeks we'll do like a top 5 heels, or something with like top 5 heels in the WWE universe completely. He's in my top 3 definitely. But
yeah, I don't hate Baron Corbin. I think he's decent. I remember saying the other day in our group chat, I think that he gets kind of an unfair rap because like the storyline in the feud with him and Roman, I think has been really awesome.
This one, yes. Yes.
Yeah, and I think that the crowd still kind of craps all over him because at this point they're just like, oh, he's Baron Corbin. We're supposed to hate him. But like we're supposed to hate him in the way that we hate, people that we don't like, not heel hate.
Wait, you think that the hatred he gets in the crowd is actual, not just heat? It's actually.
I think it's go away. Yeah, no, I think Baron
Really?
Corbin gets go away heat. Yeah.
Because
he gets X-Pac go away.
Yeah, it used to be called X-Pac heat. Yeah.
First people that want him to go away and not come back.
Yes.
Well, he's a great heel. The reaction he's getting from the crowd is for what he's doing. He's supposed to get that. Now, whether or not they want him to go away, it's still spilling over on TV to where people are noticing that he's really hated. So, but
yeah, no, I actually think he's pretty decent. He actually he asked Mike and I where to find meat once. So I mean,
Mm-hmm. And by the way, too, the King, they have them bringing back the King, gimmick again as a thing. Like, I'll say it, he's the best King we've had in here since Macho King.
No.
Who's better than King? Who's better than
Booker T.
Okay,
King Booker.
That's right. I see again. Booker happened after I stopped watching. That's right. So yeah, but I remember that. Yes.
Which was also on SmackDown. SmackDown is the land of kings.
Yes, that's correct. That's correct.
What I will say is, King Austin, who never actually proclaimed himself to be King Austin, and then King Booker, and then Baron
King
Corbin
Booker. I love him.
he
went full into it.
Yeah.
Like, Corbin's sort of doing that too.
Yeah. Well, what would you rank King Haku?
32nd.
30. You like King Haku? Holy Race is great.
It depends. If I'm ranking him to his face, he's number 1.
Yes, exactly. Number 1, maybe.
Number 1, King
Corbin.
Duggan.
Oh God.
I'm getting back on topic.
Go ahead, Mikey. Go ahead.
Corbin over Reigns, 22 minutes and 20 seconds in a TLC match. Roman Reigns almost killed one of Baron Corbin's security guards at the beginning when he put him through that table on the top of the stage.
Oh my God.
He almost went through that table head first. Me and my brother-in-law were watching it, and he just goes, he's going to need some Advil.
Can I say, Mike, real quick, though? I love the booking here. I love that they allowed Corbin to win. I know, obviously, it took 4 guys. It took the Revival and, Dolph Ziggler and, and Corbin to win. But I love the fact they didn't go for the obvious move here of giving Reigns the victory. Because now by having Corbin win, you now extend, and especially the way they did it, you now extend the storyline further into the winner.
Well, here's the thing. I think the reality of the situation is this is going to go into Royal Rumble.
Absolutely.
Because I believe that this year's Royal Rumble is going to be the first time it's 10, 10, and 10. 10 members of each 3 roster. So that's a very easy way to get Roman and Baron into something to where you can keep them both out of
this
the
be
Rumble
the first
match.
time it happened before, or no?
To this extreme, there have been members of the NXT roster on or in the Rumble, but not 10 members and then 10 for Raw, 10 for SmackDown.
Yeah, I think I roll with you on that one too. I think they would actually explore that idea of doing 10-10-10.
See, and I think with that being a thought process, this is something you can put Roman and Baron in, have the blow off there, and keep both of them out of the Rumble match.
Yeah.
To give, maybe some tweener guys or some guys that, you don't have to really protect some spots.
Right. Makes sense.
So that's where I'm at with that. Bray Wyatt over The Miz in 6 minutes and 40 seconds. Yes, I said Bray Wyatt. I did not say The Fiend. He came out to the Firefly Funhouse music. Had the blue title belt.
I liked it.
I enjoyed it for what it was, which was The Miz trying to get even with a psychopath for haunting his family.
I have a question here.
Go ahead.
Yeah, okay.
Like, it's a hypothetical for us because we obviously weren't at the show. If you were at this show and The Fiend didn't show up, would you be pissed?
No.
Really?
I like different. I like surprises. I like it.
No, I wouldn't be upset because at the end of the day, this whole thing was thrown together in like a week and a half.
Yeah.
And not only that, I actually sort of expected something odd to happen in this match because as Mike just said, it was thrown together like in the last week or two.
Yes, yeah.
And I was it even a title match? I don't think it was even a title match, was it?
It was.
It was a title match?
It was not.
They didn't push that at all.
No, it was not a title match.
It wasn't. Wow.
I almost, before the match even started, I almost texted you guys saying, this might be a squash match.
I wouldn't say it was a squash match.
It wasn't, though, but I'm saying. I assumed it could have been.
What I will say about it is I've said this to Joe in our private chat where I said I would love for him to not defend the title or not wrestle every match as The Fiend. Let him be Bray Wyatt from time to time. Let him have a match where he comes out with that music and does some, joking around or whatever. And then if he loses the match or something happens, then The Fiend shows up and basically gets into his head. Which at the end of this match, The Fiend pops up on the big jumbo board and he kind of gets into his head.
Right.
Oh, nice.
He pulls out the oversized mallet of death from the Funhouse, brings it in the ring. It looks like he's going to attack The Miz when a return happens. And it is probably my favorite moment of the night. Daniel Bryan makes a triumphant return, takes out Bray Wyatt with a couple of the what does he call those?
Knee lifts, the knee to the face, whatever.
Brian had a name for those. Joe, do you remember what they were called?
No, I want to say V Trigger, but that's Kenny Omega.
That's definitely Kenny. Aren't they called like the Boom Yi or whatever in New Japan?
Oh yeah, but that's Nakamura's move.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, basically the Shinshasuka, but yeah, a little different. But after Bryan hit the first one, his hood started to move, so he ends up unmasking himself or unhooding himself, and he has short haircut and a trim cut beard, and it was the rebirth of the American Dragon.
Can I just say
every minute of it?
Ernest, you've never watched American Dragon. You never watched ROH when Bryan was there.
No.
I'm going to give you the most the basic understanding of who he was and how much the crowd, how they reacted to him.
Mm-hmm.
This man regularly would get the crowd to chant at him, at the other wrestler about Bryan. You're going to get your fucking head kicked in. The crowd would chant that when Bryan was in the ring with other people.
In unison.
It was amazing.
I got to find on YouTube.
It was the best wrestling chant ever.
I got to find on YouTube.
Joe's gonna bring a DVD. You're gonna sit down and experience the American Dragon.
Okay. Sounds good.
And yes, Bryan Danielson, Daniel Bryan, whatever you want to call him, it was the rebirth of the American Dragon.
It's amazing.
And I love every freaking minute of it.
Yes.
I'm super pumped for that. That's going to be probably one of your title matches at WrestleMania or at least Royal Rumble. And I know Bryan probably won't win the title from him, but I'm kind of hoping that he at least puts up some stiff competition to see exactly where we stand about Bryan still being a major piece moving forward.
Right, and also I love the fact that they used the split personality of the Bray Wyatt Fiend character. It's great. It's smart.
I did too. That was really nicely done.
Cool.
I don't really want to talk about the next match, but I guess we have to because it was there. Bobby Lashley over Rusev in a tables match, 13 minutes and 30 seconds. I feel like it went about 7 minutes too long.
Yeah, that's one of those. We knew that those would be one of those like let's go get a drink matches. Let's leave the seat.
Oh, it was definitely the cooling off period in between matches.
Yeah.
That was for sure. Carol said that gold dress made Lana look atrocious.
She's right.
She's still sexy though. I get it. I get it, but she's still fucking sexy. I'm sorry.
Why?
Why? I mean, why?
Why?
I'm sorry. I mean, other than
she has no ass.
What? Really?
Okay, but to be fair, women's asses make no sense anyway.
Oh my god, Joe, stop with this angle. Joe, stop with this fucking angle.
I'm not wrong.
You're wrong.
Women's asses, like as a concept, like why do women have asses? I don't understand.
It's important.
It's just not.
Worst. Main event of the evening for the Raw, or it should be for the WWE Women's Tag Team Championship. I almost called them Raw Women's Championship. I'm so out of it right now. The Kabuki Warriors, Asuka and Kairi Sane, retain over Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair. I am going to be very critical of this match. It had its good parts.
Mm-hmm.
It had its bad parts. It's had its parts that I wish I'd never see again in my life.
Tell me the bad parts, man. I'm really curious what you didn't like about the match.
Okay, number one, Kairi Sane looked like she was lost.
She also looked like she was getting dying at least 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, Becky Lynch swinging a chair is abysmal.
I got
number three.
Go ahead.
Number 3. What the hell was Asuka doing when she was trying to stack chairs on Charlotte? She was throwing them over her.
I know.
Not even going anywhere near her. 4. Charlotte almost gave herself a concussion with the table spot because of the way she landed.
Yeah, she did.
She really did.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
That was bad.
5. The best part of the match was the part where the short Asian girls tied one of them to a freaking ladder and stuck the other one with a Singapore cane to a desk chair.
I'm sorry, but I really wish that there had been a train involved when they tied up Becky Lynch the way they did.
God. But the fact of the matter is, you're closing with the women's division, okay? You're closing
all the time now.
Charlotte and Becky. This is the last pay-per-view of the decade. And the 4 of them look lost at times in that match. I mean, the finishing sequence, Asuka pulls the thing down to pull the ladder over the rope they tied. Becky misses the rope. She misses the ropes where she's supposed to hang herself on the ropes and the rebound thing, like all the other table spots and ladder spots, like Shawn hit at WrestleMania 10, where he hit it and almost choked himself out with the rope because his head got wrapped around it.
I'm gonna confess something real quick to you, and maybe she was better before she got the title, and I'm not saying she's not great, but I think as an in-ring performer, Becky Lynch is overrated.
I will not go that far.
In comparison to what's on the roster, she's not the best women's wrestler on the roster.
Who's better than her in-ring wise right
Asuka.
now? Okay.
Well, Asuka's definitely better than her.
Charlotte,
I love Charlotte.
Are we talking about in wrestling in general, or just WWE, or just Raw? Because to be perfectly honest,
this for in-ring work.
Just WWE.
I'm not talking about her entire career. I'm going based on what I've seen the last 6 months.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I agree with you. I actually haven't enjoyed her since she first started getting that whole push as the man. I think that whatever. I was a big fan of hers right before that, and then all of a sudden she started getting this big push, and I feel like she actually got very watered down. And I wouldn't even put her in the top 10 of current female wrestlers in ring wise. Honestly,
I'm saying it as a fan. I'm not saying I don't like her. I
agree. I'm saying the exact same thing.
And I agree with you. I can't judge her early work because I'm not familiar with her early work. I'm going based on I've watched since middle of June to now. And I'm not saying she's not good, but in comparison to Sasha Banks, in comparison to Charlotte Flair, to Sasha,
to
Bayley. A lot of girls, even Bayley, yeah. I believe are better in the ring than she is.
No, I mean that's what I'm saying. Like, if you throw NXT into the conversation, I think Rhea Ripley,
Baszler,
right, and then even like you put AEW in the conversation.
Big Swole.
I think. What's her name?
Big
the
Swole?
One that they just signed,
Big
Kirklander or something like that.
Oh, Chris
Statlander.
I think she's amazing.
I love her.
Like, honestly.
Love her thighs.
And honestly, Ernest, your list just lost credibility because you just said Big Swole over Becky Lynch.
It was a joke, buddy.
Stop.
It was a joke.
Hey, I like Big Swole.
Wait, it was a joke. I hate the name. That's why I said that. And I hope they change that fucking name down the road.
They won't.
No, I was being funny with the Big Swole thing. I'm not even suggesting that. I just said it because it was just a new thing.
On the main roster right now, on the SmackDown, Raw, NXT rosters right now, she has to be in your top 10.
Probably she still is. She'd be in the bottom half of the top 10 if anything.
That doesn't matter because you're not selling me on taking Sasha Banks over her. You're not selling me on taking probably anybody on the NXT roster that isn't Rhea Ripley, Shayna Baszler, and Io Shirai. And you're talking to the biggest Candice LeRae mark in the fucking world.
As a complete package, though, she's really good with promos. She's really good. She has great presence, all that. So the package itself is one of the top. As an entire package, she's one of the top. One of the best women's put together wrestler. But I'm talking about as a solely an in-ring performer. I'm saying. I would go ahead.
She was tonight. She was the only one that looked like she wanted to be there.
But not for nothing too, though. And I think this is one of the places that I don't love watching her on TV all the time. Like, she is so scripted in her promos and stuff, and I know everyone is in WWE nowadays. But like, she is one of those wrestlers. I bet she could cut amazing promos if they weren't scripted for her. Like you see her on Twitter, you see her on all that. Like, she's got that ability. And they're kind of neutering her of it, and like the version that we get on TV just isn't my favorite thing, personally.
Right. Where were you at, Mike, on the clock?
You got like 30 seconds.
Oh no.
The other thing that annoys me in the mindset of that is she is unfortunately getting the beginning of the Roman Reigns breaking from the Shield, where he was shoved down our throat.
Yes.
She got shoved down our throat, so everybody's kind of over it, which is taking away from what she does in the ring.
Which, by the way, I don't know if you saw it today. Did you see them get booed a little bit? Charlotte and her got booed tonight.
Of course they did.
Yeah.
Okay, so I told Ernest I was coming up with my TLC rankings. I'm gonna do it in reverse order, and then we'll wrap up the segment. My least favorite match on the show was Rusev versus Bobby Lashley.
Mm-hmm.
In 7th place, the Raw Tag Team Title match.
Mm-hmm.
The only good spot was Anderson going through the table and getting splashed with mashed potatoes and gravy.
KFC.
That match ended in a double count out, by the way. I didn't mention that. I think that was really dumb. In 6th place, I put the women's tag title ladder match.
Wow, that's pretty low.
Wow.
They looked lost. They looked
like
they didn't want to be there.
I get it. I totally get it. I get it.
I got to rewatch it.
Okay.
5th was Bray versus The Miz.
Okay.
4th was New Day versus Revival. 3rd was the pre-show match of Humberto versus Andrade. My second favorite match on the show was Roman versus Corbin. And number 1 was the broken nose of Aleister Black versus his doppelganger, Buddy Murphy.
And by the way, before we go to the next topic, Roman Reigns is officially now a babyface now. I hear no more boos anymore.
You still hear him?
Very little now. I heard none on SmackDown this Friday. In fact, when he came out to at the end of the show, he got a huge pop.
You weren't in the building like 2.5 weeks ago in Chicago.
Yeah, there was some booze.
Oh, there was booze.
There was some decent booze.
But SmackDown on Friday was different story.
Yeah.
Oh, that I'll agree with.
Alrighty. Next one, I think it's gonna be you, Joe. Your take.
Okay. Well, I guess in a way it sort of can follow up from what we were just talking about with TLC and some of the awesomeness. I felt like the last 2 weeks when I picked my topics, they came across as maybe a little negative. And the thing is, I don't like to feel like negative, especially about wrestling. Like, I love wrestling. I've loved wrestling my entire life. I think, well, right. And I think that we are living in a time, we are very lucky to be living in 2019 because wrestling has been awesome. It's been beyond awesome. It's been downright, I want to curse right now, awesome. I just want to celebrate that. And so I want my topic for this week to simply just be, isn't wrestling awesome? Like right now, and honestly, what brought this up for me was watching both AEW and NXT this past Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it says a lot for the fact that the ratings were literally tied this week. I think it was like 778,000 for each show or something like that.
Yeah.
I think it says a lot for the quality that we're getting. And both of those shows were frigging awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought SmackDown this week was fantastic. I thought the hour of TLC that I watched was really good. I thought Raw was even decent, other than like the really bad promo. The guys are doing what the wrestlers are doing what they can. I think that overly scripting the promos is a bit much, but that's a whole other topic. I really right now just want to celebrate how awesome it is to be a wrestling fan in 2019.
Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, I'm an example of that.
It
brought me back at the same time.
Yes.
And I was, the way you guys are about passionate about wrestling, that was me from 1987 to 1999, 2000. I was a passionate guy back then, too, in high school. So, for them to bring me back after 17 years, to make me want to watch. And by the way, you know who gets credit for bringing me back, really? It's AEW. AEW, and not so much that this is before they did the first pay-per-view. This the idea of them having another company, promotion challenging Vince was intriguing to me. It's like, oh, okay, this is interesting. It's interesting. And I started talking to people, on the Twitter sphere about, the whole atmosphere of wrestling these days. And I started watching again. I started watching Raw. So to get familiar with the roster. And it's funny enough, when I started watching in June, it was kind of the low point of the company because the storylines are stale. People complain about how nothing's going on. They don't like some characters being pushed. Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch together, they didn't like that, and I get all that. But this latter half of this year, with AEW really getting in full swing, Dynamite going on TV, and to be honest with you, I have to give WWE credit in general, not just NXT, but even though there has been some rough spots in the last couple months on Raw and SmackDown, I would say overall, both shows have done much better in the last 4 months than they were through the summer.
Yes,
I will say there's a positive direction they're going in now. I like some, for example, this week. You said this week about some of the shows are good. I agree. I actually enjoyed Raw this week. I thought Seth Rollins' heel turn, love it. I love that he did it with AOP too. Also, on top of that, I love that there's a lot of really cool storylines I'm starting to enjoy again. Within Raw and SmackDown, AEW of course is still getting its footing. It's doing a good job. NXT I love as well. So wrestling right now in late 2019, close to this decade, and bring me back after 17 years. I'm enjoying it. I'm glad I'm back watching it again.
Yeah, I think it's funny because I think if you look at where wrestling was in 2010 at the beginning of the decade that we're about to finish, it wasn't in the greatest place necessarily. And now we're we're at the end of a decade and going into 2020. I'm excited. I'm excited to see where we're going.
Let me ask you that. Let me ask you this. So okay, 10 years ago, and Mike, jump in this also. So top dog in 2009, 2010 was obviously Cena, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
HBK just retired again?
I believe so.
2 or 3 years before that.
So where were we at as a company? Who were the top dogs in the company at the time outside of the obvious?
Cena, Orton,
Triple H, or was he kind of retired by that point too? No, I think he was still pretty active.
Yeah, I think he was pretty active.
So, the funny thing,
Taker was fairly active.
I feel like I don't even remember that well. I'd have to go back and look at stuff, but that's kind of that says it all too in a way, because it's not like I wasn't very actively watching at the time.
Because even in the 17 years I stopped watching, I still knew certain things. I knew HBK came back. I knew HBK was still doing some great matches with Taker and Flair and whatnot in the last half of the decade. So I was still aware of some things that were going on, but it did feel like to me that it was definitely a kind of a blurry, kind of like a whatever era, I guess, if you will.
Yeah. Back in 2009, the Raw brand was really Orton, Triple H, Batista, Cena. the tail end at TLC, Sheamus won the WWE title.
Okay.
Oh, God.
Wow.
He beat Cena in a tables
was...
match.
Well, I think one thing, like, I think that the early 2000s, like that, that 10 years, when WCW was gone, ECW was gone, and you just had WWF and WWE, and they tried building a lot of new stars, and they failed a lot more than they succeeded. And and I think that's kind of what led to like the early 2010s kind of not having that much star power behind it. But what you did also have is, Ring of Honor building up a lot of the guys that now are on the big show, and you had a lot of these guys in TNA, and you had, and I think it's what has led to the point that we're at now, where there's just so much good stuff that there just wasn't, 10 years ago.
There's
not
actually
on the stage.
Correct me if I'm wrong here, and I'm going based on what I just see. There's actually more star power today than it was 10 years ago, and I would even dare say, not so much in 2000, but maybe after the WCW, merge and all that, when The Rock left and Austin was retired, pretty much out of the ring. I would dare say the star power is stronger now than it was in 03-04, because by 03-04, Austin's gone. HBK was back, but then you had Rock leaving, doing movies and stuff. So I would dare say the star power today is a lot more stable than it was in 15 years ago, if you will.
I don't know if I'd agree with
Why is that?
If you're comparing 02, 03, 04, you have Lesnar, Big Show, Angle, Eddie Guerrero, JBL in his fantastic SmackDown title run, Edge.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think
established names.
But, I think I would say, I think if you get to like 05, 06, and you start getting into the land of like Kane versus Gene Snitsky, like that didn't work.
That I will agree with. That one you can get me to agree.
Yeah.
With. I don't know if you can get me to agree with
04?
Like 02 to 04.
Okay.
Right.
02, 03, I'll grant you, because obviously Jericho was there and HBK came back and all that. But 04,
as much as we don't want to talk about him, that Benoit was still a good in-ring wrestler.
Honestly, watch the 2002 Royal Rumble match. Like, just if you've never seen it, watch that particular.
I was watch
that particular Royal Rumble match. Like, it is the most star-stud. I don't. I'm messing up that word. It's got the most stars in it that like you've ever seen in a Royal Rumble match, to the point where any one of the 30 guys, almost like probably at least like 15 guys, could have easily won the Royal Rumble that year, and it would have been believable.
By the way, quick. This is a heads up for next month. One of my topics will be top 5 Royal Rumbles all time.
The 2002 is on my list. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I'm in.
But no,
I'm gonna forewarn you guys. The last show we record of 2019, my topic is going to be my stacked one that I sent you guys in the group chat.
I like it.
So you're gonna have some time to do some work, Ernest. I'll text it to you after the show.
Okay.
But I just want to say, like, and this is the kind of the reason why this came up for me as a topic this week too. I mean, other than just, like I said, loving like NXT and AEW this week and all the shows that were on, and this is gonna sound weird. This is kind of a personal thing for me, but when I was a kid, and like I said, I've watched wrestling literally since like I was born. I don't remember a time that wrestling was ever not on, like, in my home as a child and stuff. But when I was a kid, one of my aunt's co-workers, when I was about like 6 or 7 years old, her husband was a huge wrestling fan. And this is like, mind you, this is like, what, 87, 88 or so. And I met him at like some sort of like work conference that my aunts had. And he loved the fact that I was so super into wrestling like he was. Because, I'm like 6 years old, and he's like, he must have been like in his 40s or something. And, so he loved the fact that I was like super into it. And he actually passed away when I was a kid. He passed away when I was like maybe like a year after I had ever met him. And when he passed away, he actually left, like, he asked his wife to get all of his wrestling videos to me. Like I literally met him like twice in my life, and that was just like he was like, it was like all these VHSs of like the old Coliseum WWF videos and like the wrestling classic,
still have
with, like Hogan versus Piper, and yeah, it was awesome. And it's weird. This might sound weird because, like I said, like I didn't have like a full-on like relationship with this person. I like literally met him twice, and there was a bond there. But I often watch wrestling like now and how awesome it is, and I really think to myself like, I wonder if this guy would have still been into it if he was alive today. Like I wonder if he would have ever fallen out, but like would have gone back into it because of how awesome it is now. And I always like, it's weird because like I don't remember his name for the life of me, but he's very alive in my thoughts whenever I watch wrestling. And I just like, I love that it's still so awesome that I can watch it now and feel that way.
Makes you wonder.
This is what wrestling is.
That's
it's
true.
A very personal thing.
Absolutely. It makes you wonder though if you've been a fan of the Big Dog.
Right.
Seriously, fucking Michael Cole, the Big Dog.
All right, so I guess I'll venture my reaction since I let you guys use the first 12 and a half minutes of this time.
We have 3 for you, Mikey. Go ahead.
While it's a great
Mikey
time
with
to be
the
a
3.
fan, I think it's only gotten great over the last 6 months.
Fair.
The beginning half of 2019 was not very good for WWE. I think it was lost in the shuffle. I think the best thing they did was have the women main event WrestleMania and Kofi win the belt. Other than that, WrestleMania was kind of not very memorable. And this is talking to someone who's been to 9 of them in a row. I think the Royal Rumble was fun. I love the way that they built Becky losing the match earlier in the night and then winning the Rumble and then Nia being in the men's Royal Rumble. I thought that was really cool. But the rest of that card wasn't really anything to write home about. So I feel like, I don't know if it was the emergence of AEW or what, but I feel like that lit a fire under somebody's butt in WWE and it's worked for him. So I'm happy about that. I'm happy that AEW is around. Me and Joe have talked about it a little bit off air, the potential death of Ring of Honor because of what's going on and, their inability to figure out and get out of their own way, which would suck for a lot of the wrestling industry because those are the guys that are being developed to be the next big stars. So I think they need to figure it out. NWA is bringing back the TV title. It was announced that they're
I saw that.
Nice.
I saw that 2 days ago, yeah.
So that's going to be fun. I think they're doing a cool thing. I've only watched 1 or 2 episodes. I haven't watched a lot, but it looks like a cool concept, and I hope it works for them because I hope it gives people more options. So I think 2019, as we close the door on this decade, we're back to having the options. It's like AEW, WCW, NWA, and Ring of Honor, and MLW, and
New
even
Japan.
to an extent, some of the other content is the equivalent of your ECW, and then you have the Japanese route to go for the foreign effect, as well as things like Progress and ICW in Scotland and stuff like that. So it's I feel like we're back in the late 90s, like the 96 through 99 run, where we had 3 or 4 or 5 power companies that we want to get behind, we can. And I think that's a really good thing to have, as long as there's enough talent being developed in them to not make it go stale quickly. And I think that's a problem that especially Ring of Honor's having right now.
Yeah.
It's the same 12 to 15 guys every show. So hopefully they branch out and bring in a couple guys that, may have fallen through the cracks or maybe looking for that break, which I don't know if it's going to happen because of the way NWA and AEW are picking up guys. So, it's kind of a concern, but hopefully, those guys over at Sinclair figure it out quickly.
Right. Okay. Fun topic. I like this one.
It was a nice change of pace.
Yeah.
I will say one
gratitude.
thing just to close, because just to talk because what you just said, Mike. I think.
Wait, say that again. You cutting out a
Your
little
phone's breaking up.
bit. Yeah, say it.
That we
Okay, say it again. Your phone's breaking up. Say it again.
Joe, your phone's
now versus I feel like we have so much more access to wrestling. Because, like, back in the 90s, it was like if you wanted to watch a New Japan show, you were waiting 6 months and hoping that someone had a VHS copy at, like, right. And nowadays, like, we can literally watch, New Japan pay-per-views when they're on live at, like, 3 a.m. our time,
Which I'll be doing January 4th, 5th.
YouTube is our friend. NWA Power is on YouTube. AW Dark's on YouTube. Obviously, you have streaming services. It's amazing. We're
right.
Living in a time of access.
It is. We live in a Renaissance time.
Mm-hmm. It's really fun. Yeah. Okay. Our final topic of the take of the week, Mikey.
All right. So I decided that I was going to do something different this week. Joe did his with the little. Let's talk about something more positive since he felt like he was being negative. We're being a wrestling podcast, and week 1, Ernest went with the wrestling Mount Rushmores. So I decided to kick that a little differently here. And I did top underrated gimmicks of the 1990s. I thought it would be a fun topic for us to get into. Because there were a lot of fairly good gimmicks in the 90s that were kind of underrated because of, and this is no offense to any of those guys, but because the wrestling industry was owned by guys like Hogan and Undertaker, Sid, the NWO. So especially those guys in the late half of the 90s, their gimmicks may not have been as strong. Some of the gimmicks in the early half of the 90s weren't that great. So, I wanted to talk about a couple that I kind of thought were kind of underrated, and I thought of a couple more since this show has gone on that I haven't given you guys a heads up about. And I'm going to start with one of them first, and I'm going to go with Adam Bomb.
Yes!
He had the coolest look in the world with the goggles and the green tongue like he was radioactive, and then when he turned face, he had those little, like, Atom Bomb footballs that were like the revolutionary, like, Nerf footballs.
Yes.
They were the greatest things ever. I feel like he could have been a champion in the WWE. I don't know what they what they didn't see in that gimmick. I don't know if, like, because the fans were behind it. It wasn't like the fans hated it. I thought it was a really good gimmick. I thought Adam Bomb could have been, I'm not going to say he could have been a world champion, but he could have held the Intercontinental title for 6 months.
I agree.
I mean, yeah, that could have been fun.
I'm with you. I love that gimmick.
So Adam Bomb was one that I've come up with since the show went live that I was like, I have to have a conversation about him, because if I'm not, I'm going to be very upset with myself. My fourth, or I guess my second, but one that I've been thinking about wanting to press and talk about. Joe, you mentioned it, so I guess I'll just wrap it up into one. The whole Mortal Kombat in WCW, Glacier being Sub-Zero, Mortis being Scorpion, and then Wrath being, I don't know which character he was. But the fact that, like, they had a built-in opportunity to grab an entire fan base for Mortal Kombat, and, like, the promos for Glacier were really cool and all this stuff, and they had the evil villain that he was trying to defeat in the brutal Mortal Kombat, and then the whole thing just stopped.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand why those guys just, like, stopped feuding, and why things, like, were like, yeah, okay, cool, you're over there, I'm over here, let's just, whatever. It looked like it had so much potential on paper, and then it just, like, 6 months in, they're like, but they're not part of the NWO.
Right.
The hell, guys, not everyone can be part of the NWO.
The NWO took all the oxygen out of the room in the 90s.
It really did, and it killed, like, a couple of really good potential WCW guys. Another one that I mentioned to you that I'm not going to talk about too much detail. You might, Joe, I don't know. Raven, the Flock in WCW. Like, that could have been a big thing. He could have gotten all those, like, lower mid-card guys to, like, believe in his ways or whatever, and then, like, revolted against the NWO. I'm not going to say they would have beaten the NWO, but at least it would have been cool to see somebody stand up to him. I feel like that one could have been cool.
It's on my list.
I mean, yeah, he had a US title run. It was pretty cool or whatever. But, like, he had the ability to, like, get skyrocketed, especially coming off of his ECW run. And they were just like, yeah, he's here.
Yeah.
Which, again, and Ernest said it, the NWO sucked all the oxygen out of the room. So it made it hard for anybody to get any traction if they weren't wearing black and white.
Exactly.
Or red and black.
Red and black.
Yeah, at the end, red and black.
Too sweet.
So my third one up on my list that I felt like was an underrated gimmick, and he had a WrestleMania title match, I think. He may not have had a WrestleMania title match. No, he did. It was at the worst WrestleMania of all time.
Number 9?
Yes. He fought for the Intercontinental title.
Tatanka? Oh. Wow. Our list look kind of
Crush took on
similar.
Doink at that one. No, Crush took on Doink at that one, because that was the one where Doink pulled out the second Doink.
Hmm.
Did Crush have a title match at WrestleMania?
I'm not entirely sure, because that's the one in Vegas.
Yeah, no,
Yes.
it was. He definitely took on Doink at that one.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely got that opponent wrong.
Because the title match that year was Bret Hart against Yokozuna, and then Hogan won it on the back end.
Yes, Sean defended the IC title.
Tatanka.
Yeah, it was. God, I don't think Crush had a title match. Damn it.
No.
See, that's another guy that could have had a decent Intercontinental title run.
But okay, now wait. When you say Crush, are you talking about like Hawaiian Crush, or are you talking about like evil guy
Kona.
Crush?
Kona Crush.
Okay.
I'm not
That was a
talking
good
about.
face. That was
I
a good
wanted-
good guy character.
Yeah, I'm not talking about Nation of Domination Crush.
Well, that guy was on the way out of the company anyway.
Right.
We are the Nation of Domination.
Disciple Apocalypse. Remember the Disciples of Apocalypse? What was it called? The group you formed after the Nation. So annoying.
Yeah. Oh God.
Yeah, he was Kona Crush for a year. They like strapped a rocket to him, and then he challenged Michaels at King of the Ring,
Mm-hmm.
and then he got taken out by the 35 bonsai drops from Yokozuna to send a message to Luger, and then like he was gone. He had a back injury or whatever, and then he was like, "All right, now I'm going to be a heel and align myself with Mr. Fuji."
He's a heel.
Yeah, and
Put
then
on a
he
little
became-
face paint.
Yeah, and then he died.
Our list looks kind of similar, Mike.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it actually does.
Nope.
Oh, you done your 5?
I'm gonna do all 5. So I'm at number. I have 2 left that I.
Okay, go ahead.
This one is one that I know I text Joe. I don't know if I text you about it. And I wanted to talk about it. It's. I feel like he got a bad rap, but I felt like he was actually really good at points, and that was Doink the Clown.
Oh.
Mm.
And I know, like, they're like, well, which Doink? Because there was, like, 13 people that played Doink the Clown. I actually liked him in ring when he was a heel, like the evil clown.
Yes.
Like, he was, like, the It knockoff. I thought it was actually really cool. And I like that he used, like, the flower to squirt water in the fans' face. And, like, the pies to the face when people weren't ready. And, like, the one time where he used the fake arm. You know.
Oh my God, I love that.
Yes, it worked. And then
Yes.
whenever like there was a second Doink that came out, and he used the mirror, and they like mimicked each other. As a kid, that was like the coolest thing ever.
I love this theme song.
Yes.
And
Okay,
it goes evil.
but now here's my question, though. Here's my question. Do you really think that could have gone further, that gimmick? Like, do you think that could have been world champion material?
At that time, no.
Yeah, I kind of agree. But I think it was an amazing gimmick. I loved it.
Put that gimmick today because of the Fiend. Seeing the Fiend, what he's doing now. Yes.
You know, I didn't think of... Wow, my voice got really high just now. I didn't really think about that, but the Fiend really is kind of like a
Doinkish.
next generation Doink.
Yeah,
like,
he is.
That's
Hell yeah,
interesting.
he is.
A lot lighter.
And last but not least, a guy that I felt that would have been the star of the hardcore division if he was around when it existed, just because of his job title, Duke the Dumpster Drosy.
All right.
I think he would have been a star in the hardcore division.
Oh my God.
Joe, do you want to go or want me to go?
You can go.
Okay, mine. There's some names that he mentioned that I actually I agree with him on. He was eye on. I have Crush on there, number one. Crush had a look. Like,
wow.
Like if you're looking at like post Hogan years, who would audition to be the next guy? Like Vince wanted to look at the next guy that's similar to Hogan. Obviously, Luger had a look. So did Crush, blonde, tall, strong, all that, but it didn't work out. But I thought if he was booked right, maybe he could have worked out. But it was also a bad era to do it anyway. This may shock you guys a little bit because he did get a push, but I thought this is after watching 97 again, the little year, the little year. I thought Ken Shamrock could have been a top guy, but because of the company going the direction they did with Austin being, Austin getting all the accolades and attention, that was never going to happen. But I thought Ken Shamrock had some really good matches, and if they had decided to push him, he probably could have been a top guy for a little while too. So I think
push died with Austin 316. Cut that promo at King of the Ring.
Right. But, yeah. Right. But once Austin was from 96 on, Austin was just on a crash course to be biggest superstar in history of the business.
Correct.
But I thought Ken Shamrock, was underrated for that era. I mean, he got an IC title. Him and Rock had some good matches in '98. So,
but you're right. He could have easily been in the world title scene if he would
easily
been just a different time.
Easily. I have Raven also too. The Flock Raven. I thought he had a couple of title reigns. Was it U.S. title reigns? But again, I don't blame him for this. WCW 1998, especially with the NWO taking all the oxygen in the room, that. Another one here surprised you guys. The Mountie.
He always gets his man.
The Mountie. I thought that character was for a little while, for a good year, was actually pretty impactful.
Yeah, I agree.
Especially at a time where the business was on the way down. You had the steroid stuff going on. So it was hard to get eyeballs, but the Mountie kind of stood out a little bit. Like he wasn't the top guy, like Brett and Sean or whatever. But if you go down the next tier guys, the Mountie always seemed to be in some pretty good feuds.
Yeah, what's funny to me is like I don't know that I can name, and it's funny like we were just talking about like trying to think of who was the top guys in 2010 and stuff, and I don't know that I can name you half the feuds that were going on in 2010. Mm-hmm. But I can very vividly remember the Mountie and the Big Boss Man feuding.
Yes.
Like, those were awesome.
It's good feuds. Real good feuds.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Mountie always gets his man.
That's right, he does. And finally, my number 5 here, a guy that, honestly, I had a look. I thought at the time, too, same era as the Mountie, I thought Tatanka. If you could play the cards right, you could put him in title contention. He was kind of over too at the time as well.
Oh, he definitely was. Say Nails.
Huh?
I thought you were going to say Nails.
I love that gimmick. Wait a second.
Do you know how you guys know how he got fired, right? You guys.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty fucking shit, Vince.
Stupid. All right, Joe.
All right. Well, I'm going to go to ECW for my first pick. I'm going with the Pitbulls, the tag team. I thought they were awesome. They were honestly, when I started watching ECW in 1996, they were one of the first things that really drew me to the company. I just think they had a great look. I think they had a great style. I think under the right circumstances, they could have been as big as the Road Warriors were in the 80s. But they never got there, and it just never happened. They never got outside of WWE, outside of ECW, So, and maybe if they even had made it to WWE or WCW, maybe they still wouldn't have gotten too far because tag team wrestling wasn't the biggest thing. But I loved that gimmick. I loved everything about it, and I just think that it really could have gone a lot further. Was that because they got so dinged up with the injuries, you think? I think that was part of it. And I mean, I think if memory serves, there was also like drug stuff and everything. I mean, they even by 1997 ECW, they weren't even a thing anymore. They really were like early ECW, like 95, 96, they were kind of the thing.
It was them and the Eliminators.
Yes, exactly. So, I think they deserve there. I'm going to next put Hakushi on my list.
Ooh,
and
good
right,
one.
here's the thing. He had huge success in Japan. He was one of the most successful guys. I think he still might even be like making appearances here and there.
Is he low key part of Suzuki-gun?
Huh?
Is he low key part of Suzuki-gun?
Yes, obviously. No, but like in WWF in the early 90s, he was one of those characters. He had this amazing look. He, there was clearly a lot of backstory there that they could have developed. Like he had the potential to be like a Japanese Undertaker, which I think in Japan is kind of what his gimmick was.
Yes.
And they never went there with him in WWF, and I think they really could have. I think he could have really been a contender at the right time.
I agree. I'll agree with that wholeheartedly.
I also had the Mountie on my list for the exact same reasons that
he always gets his man.
Discussed. Huh?
He always gets his man.
He does. He always gets his man, and his tag team partner always gets the ROH World Title. So we're there.
Rougeos.
Yeah, seriously. I will also. I'm trying to remember. I should have wrote this down, huh?
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, listen. What can I tell you? I'm also going to put Nails on my list because y'all just brought him up, and fuck you guys. Nails was awesome until he tried to rape Vince McMahon or whatever the hell happened. Whatever the story is, but I love Nails. I still remember the WWF magazine that came out with him and Undertaker on the cover, and that was going to be the next big feud.
And then he went rogue.
And then he went rogue, right? Then he just went Sail Team 6 and was just nope, we ain't doing this.
Nope.
So Nails, wherever you are, please don't hurt me. And last
in New York.
Last but certainly not least, and this is a guy who's had a lot of different gimmicks. It's arguable he had a lot of success, but this is another one where I think this gimmick was fucking awesome. I loved it as a kid. I've rewatched episodes of Superstars and love it now. Even
is it Max Moon?
It is not.
Brooklyn Baller.
No, it is
Barry
Papa
Horowitz?
Shango.
Oh, Godfather.
No, Papa Shango. Damn it.
Godfather.
As Papa Shango. As Papa Shango. Tell me that wasn't the most amazing look and gimmick.
Yeah,
and he's another one that I just feel
really cool.
Yeah, he's another one I feel if you the one thing that they did right with Undertaker and Kane is they gave them backstories to go with their awesome looks. And
correct.
If you did that with Hakushi and Papa Shango, maybe Charles Wright would still be dressing up as Papa Shango and showing up at WrestleMania once a year. I don't know.
I'll never go to that feud with him.
That's my list.
I never go to that feud with him and Warrior.
Yeah, when he was bleeding black at him.
Warrior throwing up everywhere.
So honorable mention on two guys that I was going to talk about. Mikey Whipwreck, when he was in ECW after his epic title run, they just kind of stopped using him.
Yeah,
the same way. And then a guy that I just looked up because it was bugging the hell out of me, and it was in the 90s, and I was just ooh, this could have been a really fun one to talk about. Would have been Thurman Sparky Plug.
Oh God.
Sorry, I had to get my Hardcore Holly reference in for the show.
Alrighty, so are we how much time we left?
Yes, we are. We have hit the hard stop on this.
All right, cool. Okay, we're all done now. But before we go, as we do every week, our MVPs of the week. It can be anybody, anyone, anything. It doesn't matter. Joe, you want to go first, or?
Yeah, my MVP for the week is that hideous dress that Lana was wearing tonight because no dress deserves that. So, let's just give it some sort of credit to make it feel better.
Jesus. Oh my God. God, you're tough, Joe. Tough crowd here. Michael?
I am taking the new Ring of Honor World Champion. I am taking the 51-year-old former Quebecer Mounties tag team partner, PCO.
My MVP this week, Maxwell Jacob Friedman. Do you see that promo he did this week?
God.
Yeah.
Fucking amazing.
This guy's a bum.
You don't like him?
Ugh. I'll be glad when he's away from Cody. I'm over this feud.
Okay, I can see that.
It took too long to develop.
I do like they made fun of his lisp though. That was kind of funny.
Yeah, I will, but that was.
That you should. No, MJF's promos are off the fucking chain.
Oh, his promos are through the roof. He's the second best promo in AEW.
Behind Jericho, of course, which is a good place to be. If you're only behind Jericho, yeah, you're pretty much hitting tens. So.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So anyway, that's it for this week. Good show. BC. That's a good show this week as always. For myself, Earnest Christian, Joe, you wanna tell everybody where you are on Twitter? I'm joking, of course.
Yeah, nope. Never gonna happen.
Mike, follow Mike, of course, on Twitter at They Call Me Burn. That's BERN. They Call Me Burn. And myself, I'm on Twitter at EDChristian7. Until next week, next Sunday, next same bat time, same bat channel. This is the Take the Rest podcast. Gentlemen.
Arigato.
Yes, right. Have a good night, guys.